What's going on, NXT Universe? Mackenzie Mitchell here for another Instagram Live. Very excited to break it down with my guest today that I have coming on with me. He is a competitor in the interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship tournament. Very excited to get him on board as we talk about his time at NXT so far and his life and what makes Isaiah Swerve Scott Isaiah Swerve Scott. So really excited to have him join me here in just a few minutes. After all that happened last night on Money in the Bank, I'm so excited for all that's in store this week with Monday Night Raw and a whole new episode of NXT and Friday Night SmackDown. There's so much going on. But just for a second, how awesome was Money in the Bank? Like seeing everything come together to reach the corporate headquarters, unreal. Okay, but let me see if Swerve is on here with me, and we will get this started. Yay, he is.
It's connecting. What's going on?
Ew.
How are you?
I'm doing swell, staying busy.
Yeah, I hear you. You've got your Swerve City behind you, your podcast. That's what I want to get into and talk a little about as well. But we want to talk about everything NXT related, talk about what makes you you, and some of your lifestyle experiences and things that you've kind of went through in your life. So really excited to have you on today. Where do we start? I think we start, I saw that you used to live in Germany when you were young. Is that true?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
First 7 years of my life, actually.
Wow. And how was that experience?
It was great. I was born in Tacoma, Washington, and I only lived there for like 2 months of my life. And then my mother and my dad, my father was military, Army. He was Army, active duty. He was serving Desert Storm. And about 2 months after I was born, we shipped off and went over to Frankfurt, Germany. So I lived in Budigen and Hanau, Althausen, and I believe that's it. But I lived all on military bases. So only spoke English, only was around a lot of Americans and stuff, but I did venture out into the country and met a lot of the local German culture and stuff like that. So it was really cool.
Sure. Have you been back to Germany since you were younger living there?
Yes, several times actually.
Wow.
Wrestling purposes. Around that time actually is when I became real cool with Aleister Black at the time too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
and Walter. Yeah.
So you've lived a bunch of different places, you were saying, on different military bases. Is there one spot that is your favorite in particular?
Frankfurt, Germany, for sure.
Okay.
Which is one of the big, profound cities in the country.
Yeah. And you said you've lived a little bit everywhere. Is there somewhere that you would like to live that you haven't lived yet?
I don't know about living, but there's places I wanted to visit that I've never been to. I've never been to St. Louis. Always wanted to go to St. Louis. I grew up a St. Louis Rams fan,
Yep.
NFL-wise, so I always wanted to go there. I think I've flown in St. Louis, then flown out, but I never got to like actually go around the city and stuff. So I definitely want to go visit St. Louis. But living-wise, I think I would go back to Philadelphia. That's where
Okay.
my two little girls live in that area, about an hour from Philly. So I
Love
think I
that.
want to be back again.
Well, if you need a tour guide in St. Louis, I'm from Missouri, so I'm 2 hours from St. Louis, done the Arch. Yeah, I know. We could go
Appreciate that.
we could go to Busch Gardens, go to the Arch. You have to
Oh,
eat Pasta House if you've heard of Pasta House before.
I
There's
have.
so many great spots to go. But so definitely St. Louis is a spot you need to check off your bucket list.
Gotta do it.
But as you were talking about, you were in the military. You served in the military. And what does it mean to you that the WWE does these events like Tribute to the Troops and all of these events that kind of give back to our military?
It's a huge deal because I was Army Reserved and I served in the 254th Quartermaster Company in York, Pennsylvania. Seeing all that we do, like as far as like leaving the company and going off to do a lot of fundraisers and help out a lot of the less fortunate in the community and hold a lot, like make it a little bit of fun, little exercises that we do to train
Sure.
that in the military at the time, and make it like a conjuncture of both the community and the military as well. So we get we get to see a little bit how they live in everyday surroundings, and we get to let them in and see how we do in everyday surroundings, but make it fun and make it interesting and make it a learning process. And we both bond and we both appreciate what each other does. So I always thought that's an amazing thing that what the military does for the local communities.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, while you were training to be a wrestler, you were still serving in the military. How did you balance all of that?
That was tough. That was really hard, actually, because 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I shipped right to basic training, and I went down there at 17 years old. I didn't really have time to like manage around stuff, so I just kind of like my mom helped me out, got my stuff, and I just shipped off to the airport. I did went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Was down in retention for about 9 days, which you're only supposed to be for 2. So that was a delay. Did 9 weeks there, then went from there straight to my AT training, annual training, which was Fort Gordon, Georgia, to be Signal Support Communications Specialist, which is fancy term for radios. Did that for about 22 weeks. So I didn't go home for like another 8 months after I left. So that's a lot for a 17-year-old. And then when I came home, I had a job in Pennsylvania. I moved from Pennsylvania to Richmond, Virginia, started wrestling training. And that was about I was 18 at the time. So I started wrestling training. I still had the military, so I had to drive from Richmond, Virginia back up to Pennsylvania once a month for my weekend drills. That was about a 4-hour drive with very little money, had to keep borrowing cars and stuff. Do wrestling training, work a job, went to school for drafting and design at ITT Tech in Richmond, and I had my first child all at 18, 19 years old.
Wow.
So
that is a lot. Oh my gosh. Major props to you there.
Yeah, it was.
What did your family and all of your friends in the military and friends outside of the military have to say about you doing both and balancing all of that at once?
I had doubters for sure. My mother was definitely my biggest supporter. She paid for my first month and a half of training so I can find a job and working to pretty much support myself or at least just get a little bit of funds, have money in my pocket to do everything that I was trying to do. She was just happy that I was doing something rather than just doing absolutely nothing with my time. So I was always busy. I wasn't like wasting a lot. Man, my mother was definitely the biggest supporter. My military co-workers didn't really understand my dream and the drive to become a professional wrestler and pursue that. So it was just like one of those side jokes at, and the DFAC and like making fun of certain things until they start seeing the progression. And I always feel like that's what our society is really like. We don't really understand the drive and the road to get to the destination. We're always worried about seeing results first. And the journey is like a afterthought after you reach the destination, so people always want to see results before they see the progress. And it was a lot of like doubting and making sure like, hey, you know what you're doing? Are you sure you're going to be okay doing this? All right, we're going to give you another year doing this if it's not going to work out. And while also having a child, it's even harder and you get even more doubters on another whole family making like worrying about the father of their grandchild or their niece or their, it was a lot. Yeah. And just making sure, and honestly, being military minded helped me contain all that. So without the military, I don't think I would have made it that far.
Wow. Well, you were wrestling for 11 years, roughly 11 years before getting a contract with the WWE and getting signed with WWE. What was that moment like that you finally were signed to WWE?
Oh man. It was like a 1.5-year battle. I wouldn't say a battle, but it was just like a conversation, a discussion, like back and forth with the 2 companies I was in at the time. And I knew that I wanted to be there at that time, especially when it was like 9 years in my career. I was like, okay, I know where I want to be. I know I have all the tools. I know who I am. I know how to perform in front of this crowd, that crowd, overseas, small crowds, big crowds. I know it, TV, all of it. And so at that point, it just became a waiting process for my one contract to run out and make sure I was 100% clear. There was no way they could like talk me back into staying or anything like that. I just wanted to make sure all my ducks were in order before I just passed on to my next venture, which was WWE. And right when I was cleared up, they were like, yeah, we're ready. Let's have you right now. And
Wow.
so I got the email, and they're saying, like, yeah, Triple H wants you now. And I was like, yes, I'm ready to go. And it was like a 2-week span. I was just ready to go.
That's amazing. Well, even though you're roughly less than a year out in NXT and in WWE, what's been your favorite moment so far?
So far for me, I would say Worlds Collide.
Okay.
You know, performing 10,000 people in Houston.
Yep.
For that Cruiserweight Championship. That was just like that time. And the oddest point, but also something I'm really proud about, was just I wasn't nervous at all in that matchup. It was just like, you ring the bell, I know what to do. I know how to do this. You know, now I want to show the world I know what to do. I'm in control. I know how to contain myself and to perform, and then to outperform. And whatever expectations you had of me at that time, I want to exceed them. And that's always what drove me. The second half of my career was just exceeding expectations, finding a challenge that I wasn't necessarily prepared for. But I always found a way to get my mind ready for it, and then just take the script and flip it and make it my own. And I think Worlds Collide showcased that to like the next level, because like next day at Royal Rumble, I was getting like props from like Kofi Kingston and like New Day and a lot of the roster. It was like, yo, even though you didn't get the win last night, we saw you. We're watching you, and that's all I need. I'm like, just pay attention, let you know Swerve's arrives.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing. Well, that kind of brings you to my next question. You are part of the interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship tournament. You were so close to the championship at one point at Worlds Collide in that Fatal 4-Way. Does that change your mindset going into this tournament?
It does alter it. Just knowing that I was like one step away before,
right?
And now I got several steps again to get to that championship match again. I definitely feel I'm more prepared now than I've ever been. Once again, like the challenge is the fact that in each block there's 4 different competitors, 4 different styles, 4 different countries that everybody's from. So they've all adapted differently. So you always have to change up everything you do a little bit to adapt.
Right.
So I would definitely say I'm more prepared, but the challenge is harder for sure.
Totally.
4 different matches, like 3 different matches you're gonna have to have just to get to the finals, and then have another match then from another block that you didn't even like necessarily prepare for as much as you could because you didn't, you know what I mean? So it's like it's hard. It's definitely more difficult and challenging, but I think that's what's drawing people into this tournament so much, because the challenge is way more difficult than just a Cruiserweight Classic. Granted, the Cruiserweight Classic is one match and one defeat, you're out. But to continue performing with each competitor and to keep earning points and stuff like that, and to make sure like your whole aspect is just making sure the other performer isn't necessarily. You gotta see how they're doing as well. Their success can be your failure as well, and that's very difficult.
Sure. Is there something that you've been doing consistently throughout the tournament to prepare yourself for any competition that may present itself?
Ground and pound for sure.
Okay.
Like as much as I can move and go back and forth and leave the ring and leave my feet, I try to keep a ground game as much as possible. I'm like probably one of the taller competitors, so I have that advantage in my bracket as well. So the more I can have leverage on someone and keep them shorter than me and not moving higher than me, that's where I always have the advantage. So I definitely going to keep the ground and pound game going as much as I can. That's always worked out for me.
Sure. Well, you are competing in the tournament, so best of luck with all of that. But now I want to ask you, broadly as a whole, is there someone on the roster that you have yet to face that you would like to face?
Kyle O'Reilly.
Okay. And why is that?
100%. Oh, we have similar styles, but very different. We're both very unique in our ways, and there's always something different that we both bring to the table. I've never faced Kyle O'Reilly outside of WWE, I never faced him in WWE, and that's a matchup I always wanted. Bobby Fish as well. Never faced him anywhere else before, and I would like to face either one of them. Even as a tag team, I would love to face those two guys.
Sure.
Um, yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think of some other guys. I never faced Roger Strong at this, like, before getting to NXT. So that was like one of the ones I was like, oh, okay, I got to get in the ring with this guy. If you can hang with him, you can face off with anybody. And
Sure.
I'll take the beating as well. So he's a rough one.
So almost all of Undisputed Era, you'd like to face any one of Undisputed Era. They can give to you. You guys would have a great match. We'd all love to see that.
Without a doubt. I faced
For
Adam
sure.
Cole in Evolve before. So if you want
Okay.
to see that, that's on Evolve. Shout out Gabe Sapolsky putting that one together.
There you
Um,
go.
but yeah, I'm always looking for a challenge. I like competing with guys that I know that I can work well with. But the challenge is like competing with someone you just don't know. The mystery that what's going to come at what's in Pandora's box and what can we unleash together. That's what the beauty of this business is.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, what's a goal of yours in NXT and in WWE as a whole?
Honestly, my goal is to be a role model. I want people to want to follow the path that I took and lead a great life, lead a great life like that. And when I'm finally done and hang up my boots and I'm out of like this industry altogether, hopefully that's not for another 20, 15 years or something like that, is the people be like, hey, I want to take the path that Swerve took to get to WWE and the path that he had in WWE. I don't want it easy. I don't want everything given to me. I want that hard road. I want to like grind in the mud with everybody and then come out on the other side like, yo, like if you like, it's like chopping through the woods. You don't really see how far you've gone until you turn around and look back at how far you've gone through the woods. And then when you see all the
Right.
stuff that you've gone through, it's like, man, I've been chopping wood for so long, man. Like I'm like,
Sure.
this is a lot of work. But then you look forward and you're like, oh, I'm still chopping though.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, and definitely championship goals. Definitely title reigns. I want to win tournaments. I want to win tag tournaments. Whoever I'm going to tag with, I don't mind. But yeah, I want everything as much as
Of
I can get.
course. Yeah, those are great goals to have.
Yeah,
You always say that you're the flyest in the room. How do you define that term exactly?
flies is a mentality, just like
Okay.
confidence is. I want to walk in the room, and for some reason, everybody's head turns to you. You just capture the room's attention. It's not necessarily what you wear. It's not necessarily how colorful and bright you are. It's about the aura you put off. Like even in a matchup when like there's 5 people in the ring, 4 people in the ring, even just 2, the whole attention just pans right to you. That's being the flyest in the room. To just garner everybody's attention. You grasp it right when you step in the ring or step in the room.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so we touched on it a little bit whenever we first came onto the Instagram Live. You obviously have a banner behind you that says Swerve
Yeah.
City. You have your own podcast. How did all of that come about?
This was something me and my man's Monteezy started up. If you look out for him, check him out on social media and YouTube. He's done a lot of themes for a lot of guys in the industry, really top names in the industry right now. So Monteezy is a big partner of mine. We put this together. He interviewed me like 3 years ago when I first moved down to Florida, and we just hit it off right away. He didn't ask the typical wrestling question like who's your favorite, who inspired you, and stuff like that. We just talked about life and the person, and I was like, yo, this is a good dynamic we have here. What if we started up something on our own? He lives down in Tampa, and so like every other week or something, like we just started coming up here, and we started like building the podcast. And we started off an IG live, then we started gaining like a little website, then we got a YouTube channel, and then he knew somebody that does some film work. A buddy of mine that I knew from Los Angeles now lives in Orlando, does editing work. Mike and Siren, those two are just do magic for they're amazing at what they do. So we just have this family, Big Swole, Cedric Alexander's wife. I was the groomsman in their wedding. She's like
Oh,
a sister to me. So I was like, yo, we need a female's opinion, man. We need the other sex to let let off some steam. What do you think about these things? And she's a very opinionated individual, and we love her for it. So her personality just brings everybody together. So that's my team. It's me, Montezi, and Big Swole, just talking about life, and getting into the mind of what these performers actually think and what they've gone through. And the whole point of Swerve City podcast is just to have the listener gain confidence, a new age confidence that they never knew that they had. Understand that the people that we're interviewing, we've gone through issues and we've had our lows and our struggles, and we had to break through these barriers mentally and physically to get to where we are now. And just to understand that the viewer, hey, we went through some very similar things that you went through.
Sure.
So maybe, like, if you're going through it right now, at the moment, we're listening to these stories, listening to these podcasts, maybe we can inspire you to get through the struggles and get out of the lows that you're going through at the moment, to help you understand, if we can make it, you can make it. You'll hear some sad stories. We had Tegan Knox and Dakota Kai on one time talking about the injuries and how low of a point that they were at, and pulling through to make it to see where they are now. They finally did their takeover recently together, so you can see where the origin of where that started on our podcast. We have Kofi Kingston coming on tonight. So when that drops on YouTube, on our youtube.com/Swerve City podcast, you can hear what his lows may be, what his hard gripes that he had to go through to get to the WWE Championship win at WrestleMania last year. We got Drew Gulak, we had Cesaro, we had Aleister Black and Zelina Vega on together. We've had Adam Cole, this guy right there, Adam Cole, who signed his autograph and put it on the wall right over there. I got a lot of people over here. The Legend Ultimo Dragon, you got, you name them, they've been in here or they will be on at some point. So definitely tune in, subscribe to the podcast, youtube.com/Swerve City podcast. And
awesome.
then you're going to be into some very, very intriguing stories for sure.
Well, I'll definitely be tuning in to listen to Kofi Kingston. I love Kofi. So that would be awesome to listen to that. But we love what you guys are doing for sure.
Thank you.
But on top of having your own podcast and being an entertainer, being an athlete, you're also very musical. You just released a track called Body Art. How did all of that come about?
Man, Body Art was came from, everybody has their attractions to whoever, man, women, but we always, in music videos, we always see all the time that they kind of have like this one archetype that they always think is the attraction of a woman. For myself and Teezy and our feature on the track, Juice from the Flatbush Zombie. Shout out Juice for getting on the song with us in the video. We like that there's imperfections of the women and the man that are attractive to individuals as well. And that's what we wanted to talk about. That's what we wanted to showcase, the things that you're self-conscious about, that's something attractive to somebody else. The mole on your face, the birthmarks, the stretch marks, or anything like that. That's an attractive thing. So don't change because you have to fit the mold. Stay who you are, because that's attractive to somebody and somebody's going to love you for you. So, but we just made it in a very entertaining, very fly, sassy way of putting it in the words. And Don Teezy, he mentored me through writing music. I never wrote music really, but then once he got me to write Broke Boys, I was just like, oh man, I can write about so much more stuff. It's just like putting a wrestling match together. Oh my God. And my mind just starts drifting off to writing, and not just writing it, but expressing it in a different way. Put my mind on paper and then paper into a song. That's a very special thing, and I just got addicted to it right away. So Body Art is on the YouTube channel, Swerve City Podcast YouTube channel. All of our content's on there. Check that out. Get them views up. We actually released a whole album, which is on our YouTube page, from Humble Beginnings. Myself and Montezi co-wrote the entire album. And man, it's something special, and we're getting a lot of good reviews from it. So check it out.
Wow, for sure. Yeah, everybody watching, check it out. Make sure to check it out on their YouTube channel. We also have been seeing on your social media that you've learned to play piano, or been trying to learn to play piano. How is all of that going?
It's going all right. I know it's difficult at first, but now I'm like, I got to at least get 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day. I can't go less than 20 to 30 minutes. Because I know if I try to jam in the maximum amount of time, I'm not going to be like, I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm looking at the clock trying to learn. I'm like, all right, when can I get on to the next venture? Because I'm always thinking about what's next, building something new. But I'm like, I know if I do the minimum, I always get something out of at least the minimum. But going the maximum is going to strain my brain, and I can't have that.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
hear
going
you.
on.
Good.
Yes.
Do you play any other instruments?
No, I've never. I played a violin when I was like in elementary school, grade school, but
Okay.
I never kept up with that. And honestly, it was kind of an instrument that was thrown on me, nothing something I preferably would have done. So piano was always something I looked for first in music. So I was like, yeah, I want to try this one. So I got my
Good for
piano
you.
and keys. Yeah.
That's great. Trust me, I've tried to play guitar and had to I've done lessons to play guitar, and playing an instrument is a whole lot harder than people think it is. So I
It's
definitely give you props for
extremely difficult.
learning to play piano.
Right now, I'm just trying to get my finger muscles. Like once you get those tuned right, it gets easier, but it's still another challenge.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine. What I always like to do with everybody that I have on, at the very end, it's called Mackenzie's Minute. So I like to spice it up and play different types of games with different superstars that I have on. So
All
today
right.
I always put like a minute on the clock for Mackenzie's Minute, and then we'll break it
Ooh,
down. I don't ask too hard of questions. I like to keep it kind of just neutral. But today we'll play, I'll give you different names, probably 10 to 15 names, and you'll say the first word that comes to mind whenever I say their name.
got you. Word
I won't make it
association.
too hard. Yes, word association. Okay. So, all right. First name, your mom, since we just celebrated Mother's Day.
Energy.
Energy. Kofi Kingston.
Legend.
Drew Gulak.
Mentor.
Austin Theory.
Prodigy.
Shawn Michaels.
Trendsetter. If that's one
Oni,
word.
yeah, Oni Lorcan.
Biff.
Ricky Steamboat.
Oh, Pioneer.
Okay. Rhea Ripley.
I want to say Prodigy, but Brutality.
There we go. Matt Riddle.
Bro.
John Morrison.
Complete that. Sorry.
I know. John Morrison.
Supreme athlete. 2 words. I'll make it one.
That's
Sure.
okay. And we'll do one more. Tyler
Yep.
Breeze.
Oh, locker room leader. I'm doing
There
2
we
words.
go.
I'm terrible at
There we
this.
go. Hey, A for effort. You at least got
Yeah.
out a word. It's so funny. I played this game with Tegan Knox, to where I just gave like, this or that, or what's
Yeah.
her least favorite, and I asked her what her least favorite food was, and she said spinach, and then afterwards she goes, but I like spinach. I don't know why I said it. It's something about like immediately
Yep.
having to give an answer that you're thinking and you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. You just freeze for a second, but you did
That's a,
great.
that says something about the person that you're saying too, because it's like, oh, there's this person. Not just one word describes them. There's
Sure.
many things that describe these people. So it's like, oh, which one do I just go with off the top?
Well, you did it so great at that one. So good job for sure. But thank you so much, Swerve, for joining us today.
Thank
Really
you, God.
appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Swerve City, go subscribe on
Right
YouTube.
there.
Yes, go and check him out if you guys have not. And like you said, Kofi Kingston will be dropping tonight, so make sure you tune in for that. I will be as well. And thank you again, Swerve, and best of luck in the Cruiserweight tournament going forward.
Thank you. Stay
Thank
confident.
you, for sure. Bye, Swerve.
Bye-bye.